Hello everyone, welcome to Homeschool Autism Life. My name is Jamie, and today's video I'm going to be talking about the Gather Round Homeschool unit called Intro to Philosophy. Psychology, not philosophy, psychology. I knew I was going to get that wrong and I still did. Psychology, Intro to Psychology. This video, or this unit in particular, I have found lots of different changes that I have made to what I usually do with all of my other Gather Round Homeschool units. Not in a bad way, just in a little bit easier way, if that makes sense, and I'll explain as I go. One of the things I usually do that I still kept doing was I make a banner that kind of announces to my kiddos what we are going to be learning about. And this one I made, I didn't find any that were pre-made that I really liked, and I wanted to talk about, or just have this as being particular to how God takes care of us, how he tells us to take care of our mind, all of that. And so that's why I picked some of the pictures that I did. And of course I had a picture of the brain, where these things are thought about and discussed and all of that kind of stuff. So another thing that I usually do that I didn't do this time is I usually have some sort of map on a board that we color, we decorate, we write notes on. With this one, I felt since, he's so happy today, Intro to Psychology. But one of the things that I felt, because the brain aspect of it is only in the first 2 lessons out of 20, I didn't feel like we were going to utilize that very much. And so I decided to just leave it off. I wasn't going to deal with that so much this time around. I also haven't been doing tons and tons of YouTube videos. So I think there's been 2 or 3 lessons that I've done so far. Typically, in any other lesson, let's say it's about the Connecting Continents unit, I have 4 or 5 videos of those countries being showcased in YouTube video. In this one, I felt, some rudimentary discussions about the brain was good, but when we're talking about things like anger management and stuff, my kids are 12 and 14, and I didn't really want like heavy, like if you type in anger issues or whatever, they're gonna see things that are less than what I wanted. I wanted those discussions to be about the things that we're dealing with in our life, the situations that we're going through. Nothing so static, if you will. I think as they get older, if we come back to this lesson, it's entirely possible, when they're in grade 11 or 12, let's say, then it might be worth going, how should you emotionally deal with this situation or that situation, and have YouTube videos showing what not to do and what to do or something like that. But for this time in their lives, just understanding where their emotions are coming from and how you can, with God's help, manage those things, I think that's an okay, realistic use of time, rather than trying to find videos about that maybe, there's just too many things that I was like, I don't necessarily, and I don't always have time to watch every last one. Sometimes one of the videos that we watched was a documentary about Derek Parapicini. I'll leave it linked down below, but it was talking about how his brain, he lives in this amazing musical world. His brain is perfectly focused on that, and then at the same time he has disability in lots of other places. We talked about a blind person like Andrea Bocelli and stuff, and so I was really wanting them to see the amazingness of the brain and how it made connections in that way. They watched a documentary about Andrea Bocelli and his life and stuff. So there are things that I will come across and I'll be like, we'll do a YouTube video on that. But for the most part, like lion's share, I have felt like it would be more helpful for us to discuss those things that are happening in the context of where my kids live. So one of the things that I did continue to do was I assign my children readers, and then they have to do a little book report or assigned reader pages, that sort of thing. So for my Miss Sienna, she is reading Goddess, Gods, Athena, and the Brain. And this one I felt was kind of like an introduction to the whole Greek mythology in kind of a fun way. But usually she does stories that are in graphic novel form. And so I'm just starting to get her to do these more novel type of books, but there's a lot of spaces in between and a lot of time for them to look through those. And then Nara chose this one. I kind of gave her an option to choose from these two books, and this one does have evolutionary ideas in them. And so it's all good, but because I want my kids to have an understanding of what others believe. But yeah, it's more technical. Lots more, very few images, but if they are, they're images of science images. But it's a fun one, talking about some of the things that have been discovered about the brain, because we still don't have a complete understanding, and that's very cool. Sienna, can you go grab Mommy the read aloud book for me? Thank you, because I forgot it. It's in the thing by the exercise machine. So the other thing that I do is I have a magazine racked to my left, and I want my kids to have a few books that they can go through. It's a little bit sparse, this unit, because I had to kind of start from scratch. I wasn't going to be doing any highly technical books. I just kind of felt like that was, I felt like that was kind of a little above and beyond. There is some, but there isn't. So this one is a fun kid one. It has some little comics and silliness. All of these books I got from bookoutlet.ca. So this one was a fun one. I did include this one. Now I have a pen that actually reads. I think we got these from Costco like forever ago, but there's a whole section on the brain and the spinal cord and stuff like that. So I definitely want the kids to have, like, that's probably as technical as we are getting, along with this one, which was psychology, facts, basics, statistics, tests, and more. So it's kind of a crash course on the science of the mind. Again, there is some evolutionary theories and stuff like that, but it kind of is a fun way of looking at it. They said it cuts through the boring details and statistics and instead gives you lessons in psychology that keeps you engaged and your synapses firing. So another fun one. I got this one as Murderous Maths, the brain bending basics. So this one is more, again, kind of silly, with some math problems and stuff that they can look at, just some silly things that I wanted the kids to kind of have, so that it kind of made it more fun. This one I thought was very cool. It's called The Beautiful Brain, drawings by this one artist, and I'm not even going to attempt to say his name. I am horrible with saying names, but it has little pictures. Did I show you that properly? And then just little bips about the hippocampus in the brain, and drawings that he did, and then there's some of those. So it's just things that the kids can flip through. But no, I have also taken to binding these lately, and I'm so happy to say that that's been working really well. It's kind of like a brand new thing. Every 6 weeks they get a brand new book to start and write in. But just flipping through it has been lovely, and it's very user friendly. So how do the kids use this in real life application sort of thing, rather than just, statistics and whatever. So with Read Aloud, I think I've shown you this several times, but we've been still going through this book. I love the discussion points in this that we discuss, even if it doesn't have anything to do with our unit that we're studying. I have always found that somehow it marries with what we're talking about, and this is all about thinking. All of it. Do you think evolutionary ideas is the way to go, or are we believing God? Do we believe what he says about the beginning of the world as him being the only one who was there? And then why do we believe that, and why do we think that that's the way it is? And then why are some Christians willing to compromise with man's science? What does that do to the Word of God? What does that do to their understanding? Like, all of these things is all about the mind. You have to think these things through, and I'm glad to do that while they're young. And so the foundation is built on critical thinking skills and being able to go, I don't know, let me think about that, let me kind of figure that out. And then, because Read Aloud is always something that I kind of have to drag my kids to do, I've also been reading them a silly book. So this is called Jim Henson's Frankenstein High, Beware of the Giant Brain. So when I was looking for books, again, it was trying to figure out something that's going to keep them engaged and excited about things, and this was the one that ended up being chosen. It's silly and goofy and funny, and that's why the kids enjoy it, but they still have to discuss things. Like, this is talking about relationships with others in the school. Even if they're fantastical and crazy, it's still this person in the school was being mean to this other child. What would you do in those situations? So I feel like, even though it's technically not about psychology, it kind of is. So that is what I'm doing with my children for Gather Round Homeschool, the Intro to Psychology unit. If you have any movie recommendations, anything that you did with your kids, feel free to leave a comment down below, as it is lovely to hear from you all. And so thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.